When I was growing up, video games were becoming increasingly more popular. One of the games that I loved the most was this game called Punch-Out! And essentially the premise is it's a boxing game where this little 17-year-old kid from Brooklyn goes up and faces some of the best boxers in the world. And it was just a really cool concept for me when I was coming up because there was nothing like it. So the idea of sparring with someone who is bigger, badder, and tougher than you was super appealing as a young kid. For those of you that have grandkids or kids, you'll know how much time and investment some of these kids put in their video games. And for me, I definitely wasn't on some of the levels of the kids now, but this was exciting, this was fun. And you could tell from the graphics that they have come a long way. But just like the challenges that we faced in Punch-Out! Back in the day, we continue to face challenges in our walk with the Lord. Specifically, one of the things that we deal with is a bout with doubt. I mean, it affects everyone, from non-believers to skeptics. And if you're really honest, we as believers deal with these issues of doubt as well. You know, there's a variety of reasons why people doubt, whether it's a forwarded email or a YouTube video that you were sent. There's some compelling arguments that people have brought up that have made me scratch my head and say, I'm not really sure about that one. But when we have those moments of doubt, when we have those moments of where we're lacking clarity on something, that's not just a way for us to say, well, God's mysterious and we can't just explain it. Just because you don't know the answer to it doesn't mean that there's not a logical reason for something. We can't just be satisfied and content with giving the answer, well, we just don't know. Because that's not always true. Sometimes it's because we're actually too lazy to go and do some research and figure this out. Turns out there are much smarter people than me who have spent a vast majority of their life finding answers to difficult questions. There are valuable resources out there on the internet that are at your disposal, whether it's a book from a notable pastor or an apologetic. There are a ton of ways for us to look up information on how to answer some of those questions. So my first challenge to you is, don't be content with just saying, we just don't know. That doesn't apply to everything. There are literal things that we have no idea, that even the greatest minds have been able to unanswer. But there are things that we can do to improve our knowledge, to be more informed about how to respond and defend our faith. I think that's one of the primary reasons why people don't do it. They say things like, I just don't know. Well, that might be true, but that doesn't mean that you can't find the answer. It just means that you haven't yet. So I would really love for you guys to share some resources that you have found to be super helpful, whether that's through illustrations, stories, and honestly, those personal testimonies are one of the strongest ways to convey how, God has been real to you. People might not believe in the Bible, but they'll listen to your story. And if your story goes something like this, I was dead in sin, I was going to hell, and God saved me, He forgave me, and He redeemed me. People are going to say that's not true. Of course not. So we have to be more diligent. we have to be more informed. It is crucial in defending our faith. And it's crucial in helping to reduce the amount of doubt. It will never erase it. It will never erase completely. If you tell me that someone has no doubt in their mind whatsoever that God exists and he is who he says he is, well, I just don't believe you. I seriously doubt that that's true. Every single pastor that I've spoken to, including all of yours on staff, have agreed there have been seasons where that doubt has crept in and it's really been a struggle. The last part that I would tell you and challenge you is to know that if you are doubting God's ability to use you, it's because you're relying on your own ability. And here's the fact. With the current information that you have, and with your current desire, you probably don't have the ability to answer some tough questions. You probably don't have confidence in yourself. But I'm convinced that the more we practice and the more that we try to be open and honest about our faith, and the more that we try to actually discover what God's word means and says about certain topics, the better we will feel going forward. It's just like anything. You have to practice. You can't expect to be perfect at answering difficult questions. But just know that it does get better and it will get easier. If Thomas can spend 3 years with Jesus and see miracles, and Jesus's mom can have doubts about whether or not God could use her, it's okay to have doubts. I hope this video has been a good reminder for you to know that it's okay to doubt, but our doubt should lead us to seeking truth. And seeking truth should lead us to a closer relationship with God.